Hey guys, so I did a quick poll of the group yesterday and found that most people were interested in effective Facebook marketing for gyms. Now, I can't compete with Eric's nice little hand drawing videos, so I'm just going to go low budge on this one. So I want to start with what not to do. And so here's a list of things of that's ineffective advertising, and then I want to work on what actually works. So try not to skip ahead because I have to explain all this stuff. So what you never want to do is include the price unless you have like a ridiculously good deal. Even then, like, I don't advise doing super deep discounts anyway, like a Groupon style offer. So I wouldn't really even recommend that. And that's the only case that you would put the price on your ad. And the reason you don't put price on the ad is because you're not separating cost from value. And so what I mean by that is, you might think that including the price is going to filter out people who aren't serious. But what it really does is just create another barrier for getting started. Because let's say you're doing a 6-week boot camp and you're charging $250 for it. Now, personally, I think that's a pretty good deal. And that actually is a pretty low price for a 6-week boot camp. But the number 250 doesn't mean anything until someone sees the value of it. So what you have to do is convince someone that it's worth more than $250, and the fact that they're getting it for $250 is good value. But you can't do that in a short Facebook ad. So I advise leaving the price off altogether because you haven't established the value of the program you're offering yet. The other thing that you shouldn't do is just ask for nothing. A lot of times I see people doing ads or even social posts saying, there's really no call to action. Like they just say like, call us to get started. Well, nobody's going to call you out of the blue. It just doesn't work that way unless they know there's a clear offer on the table and they know what they're getting. So you have to have a clear offer. You never want to ask for payment. And so let's say you're doing a boot camp or something. Sometimes I see people running ads right to a payment page where people can just sign up right away. And on the one hand, I get the logic that you would want people to have an option to give you money right away. But I find that actually makes things easier for the gym owner, not the prospect. And so usually when gym owners are doing this, it's because they want it to be more convenient for them and they just want to set up an ad and collect money. But it really doesn't work that way. Because personally, I don't buy things that way, and I hope that you don't either. Because I'm not going to click an ad and spend $250 or more on a program that I've never met the person running it. I don't know anything about the gym. I've never stepped foot in it. And to ask for payment right away is just asking way too much. All you want to do at this stage is just ask people for more, to give their information so that you can contact them with more info about the program you're running. You also don't want a super huge application where you're asking for a ton of info. I've seen some places do like these big questionnaires. And yes, again, I see the logic in wanting to filter out people who aren't serious by asking for a whole bunch of information. But really what you're doing is just adding a barrier. People don't necessarily want to reveal all their secrets or all their personal information just on a little Facebook ad click through. So really, typically the only things I ask for are name, email address, and phone number, and that's it. And that's about the limit of what people are willing to give. And so I find from there, it's a matter of following up and starting a conversation with them where you can get the rest of the information you need out of them. The other thing I would advise against is these, I call them, or my mentor calls them, huge opportunity ads. And these are like the hypey ads you see where it's like, we're looking for just 10 women to join our next boot camp and blah, 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 and like super hypey, like jacked up to 11 sales message. The market's just becoming so saturated with that. And yes, they do work, but they won't work forever. And I find being, a voice of reason and can actually stand out in all these like over-promising, big hypey ads that you get, where they're offering like a huge opportunity or like a free boot camp that's not really free or anything like that, right? So what do you do? Well, you want to have a good, clear offer. And it doesn't matter what the price is because you're just going to leave it off. And, if you want to say you're giving a discount, you can say it's, 30% off for Black Friday or something like that. But you always want to have a reason why you're offering the discount. But what I mean by offer isn't necessarily a deal. What the offer is a clear program or like, specific thing that people are signing up for where you know exactly what you're getting. So saying something like, call for a free consultation is not a clear offer. A 30-day challenge where you get this many workouts per week and you get a nutrition plan and accountability coaching that's a clear offer because people know exactly what they're showing interest in, and it's not this vague general thing. Because if I've learned anything, it's that if anyone becomes confused for any reason, deal breaker, you're done. So you always want to make sure everything is as clear and simple and easy to follow as possible, so that it's just a clear path to you. You want an image, a video, or a slideshow that stops the scroll. That's the only goal of your creative, is to stop people from scrolling through their feed. And so you always want something that's eye-catching. I would say like increasing the contrast on whatever image you're using can make it stand out in the feed. Using a lot of colors. If you're doing a slideshow, have it, a little bit dynamic moving through. A video is great if you can grab someone's attention by being like goofy for the first few seconds, or an image that's like a real life picture from the gym if possible. Now I understand that's not always possible. If you have bad lighting or you just don't have the materials, you can definitely use a stock image, but definitely dress it up with graphics and text if you can. But group photos work really well. Something like this is actually a pretty good example. You see people are happy, they're having fun, right? It's like community atmosphere. You never want a picture of someone like doing a squat and they look like they're about to have a baby, because nobody wants to join that. It just looks hard. So the other thing you want to do is get to the point right away. You don't want to get all cutesy with stories or like, elaborate intros to your offer. In the first few words of your ad, you just want to get to the point and say what the offer is, and then you can explain it after. Because if people don't know what it is, they're just going to scroll on by. And then there's always the issue of long versus short. Now everyone says, oh, people don't read anymore. They have short attention spans. Well, they're willing to read a little bit more if it's something that interests them and is relevant to them. And I often use a longer approach, which is at least a couple hundred words or more in my ad, because I want people to know exactly what they're getting and the value of what it is, even if they don't know the price yet. And I find that often works very well. That being said, you always want to test it against short copy. You want to try something short too, because I can't say that one works better than the other. It's just a matter of trying it out and seeing what works. Some other tips about the technical part of ads. I don't want to get into that too much because I could spend, a month talking to you about that. But you definitely want mobile only. For Facebook, I would just skip desktop altogether, and you only want to be in the feed. You don't really want to worry about Messenger ads or Instagram ads or any of that right now. You just want Facebook feed, mobile only. The other thing you want to do is make sure that you're splitting between gender, so one gender only. And what I mean by that is you can definitely have campaigns for men and for women, but you have to keep them separate. You can't say the same thing in an ad that's going to attract men as women. And I found that if you're doing group fitness, women is the easier one to go after. So just do that first, and once you've mastered that, then you can move on to men. But until then, don't even worry about it. And you know your own demographics, but usually, for something like CrossFit, it's like 30 to 45 women. Sometimes I'll go like 24 to 54 in there. It just kind of depends. But you want to make sure the only targeting you're doing is age, gender, and location. That's the only targeting you want. You don't want any of the fancy targeting options like, like health and wellness buyers or interested in CrossFit or shops at Lululemon or anything like that. You don't want any of those fancy targeting options. That just makes your ads more expensive, and it's just harder to reach people that way. So you're better off just keeping it wide open, targeting a whole bunch of people, and Facebook will do the rest to find the people you want. So I hope that helps. I know this was a lot of information in a little short time, and I could talk about it a lot more. But if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, or feel free to message me, and we can talk about it further.